All right, we continue. This is Zach Gelb show on the Infinity Sports Network. We're getting you set for the AFC Championship game with the Buffalo Bills going to Arrowhead to go up against the Kansas City. How about those Chiefs? And now joining us, linebacker from the Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl champion, Drue Tranquill, kind enough to jump on board with us once again. Drew, appreciate the time. How you been?
Zach, I've been good, man. We're excited. Big game coming up and a lot on the line.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And now this is like a regular occurrence for you. I know the first 4 years of your career, you loved being with the Chargers, but we saw you win a Super Bowl last year and all the elation and appreciation that you had. How about just what this team has been able to accomplish so far and what you kind of seen out of them in year two with you being in Kansas City?
Yeah, we got a great group of guys, obviously a great coaching staff and a great front office that's done a lot of historic things here when you look at what they've been able to accomplish over the last decade. And, we just try to keep stacking days and get better each day. And it's been cool seeing guys come in the door and help us, whether it was like Kareem Hunt, middle of the season, bringing in DeAndre Hopkins, young guys stepping up, making plays for us. And so we've had to find a lot of different ways to win this season, but it's been a fun ride. And we're one of the last four teams standing, which is what you always aim for, in this conference championship weekend.
Winning is addictive. And sometimes when you win, right, there's better business opportunities. You had an opportunity to leave Kansas City this offseason. You elected to re-sign. Were you ever close to leaving this past offseason, or was it like, hey, this is just so good right now in Kansas City. How the heck could I leave?
Well, I certainly loved it here. Having three young kids and a wife, you don't want to be bouncing around, but at the end of the day, business is business. And I wouldn't say I was close to leaving. I think they put forth a good effort to bring me back. And I felt like it was a win-win situation. We were able to get a deal done, but we're certainly super excited to be here. We love everything about it. Obviously, love Spags, love Coach Reed, love the guys here, Brett Veach, everybody involved. And love the Chiefs Kingdom, man. Our fans are one of a kind. I really don't believe there's a better place to play than Arrowhead.
Yeah, what is it like game day at Arrowhead? Now the stakes are a little bit bigger, so I'm not saying it's not loud in the regular season, but it goes to a different level when the Super Bowl, right, and a trip to the Super Bowl is on the line.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've played in 30 out of the 32 NFL stadiums, and obviously had played at Arrowhead a few times, being in the division my first 4 years in the NFL, and it was always my favorite place to play. Like the energy, the excitement, the fans are rowdy, they're loud, but it's a good advantage for us week in and week out, especially on the defensive side of the ball when you can get the offense operating on silent count, when they can't hear each other and make their checks. It tips the scale in your favor a little bit, but it's fun, man. I mean, our fans love it. We love them. And when you win, you create this culture that everybody kind of loves to be a part of. And we have that.
Drue Tranquill here with us of the Kansas City Chiefs. Just out of curiosity, your first 4 years in the league, you were a really good player. But the last 2 years, how do you think you've improved as a player being a part of the Chiefs?
I mean, I'm constantly just trying to ascend, whether it's, in the run game, in the pass game, and my coverage skills and my blitzing. I feel like I've really kind of taken off as a blitzer over the last 2 or 3 years of my career. Just learning different techniques, learning what moves to put on what guys. And I'd say that's an area of my game that I've certainly tried to develop and seen growth in.
And you've mentioned Spags quite a few times already in this conversation. I've made the case that he should be a Hall of Famer with all the Super Bowls that he's won, leading the way for those defenses in New York and now with Kansas City. Just what does Steve Spagnuolo mean to you with your relationship with him the last 2 years?
Well, he's a great mentor and a great person. We obviously know what he's able to do with the X's and O's, but how he forms relationships with his players, how he invests in his players, and how he gets the most out of the guys week in and week out is special. And there's only a handful of people in the world, coaching wise, that can do that.
Is it kind of crazy to you, Drew, that Kansas City's able to keep him? Because, man, I thought he would get another head coaching job. Didn't happen last year. This year he's got some interviews, but there's only two jobs left in this cycle. It's got to be surreal when you can keep a staff like that together.
It is. That's one thing that surprised me with the Chiefs is just the continuity, whether it's the guys, drawing cards for us, the assistant coaches, the position coaches, the staff continuity has been really special here. And they've done a good job of rewarding those guys for having success and performing, just like they've done their players, the guys that have performed, rewarding them. But we have many coaches on our staff that would be great head coaches, and we're certainly thankful to have them on the staff and keep them.
So you got to see Buffalo again. I know you played them earlier in the season. You guys haven't lost many games this year. It's really your one true loss of the year because you guys weren't a full go up against, the end of the season, the Denver Broncos. But how do you kind of look back at that first matchup and what didn't go your way up against the Bills?
Well, we know every game against them is going to be tough. It's going to come down to the turnover battle. It's going to come down to things like how do you do on third down and how do you do in the red zone? Can you make them kick field goals? Or are they going to score touchdowns? I think you look at, what they were able to do in that first game. I think they won the turnover battle. I think they were, 50 to 60% on third down. So both of those things, that's a losing formula for us. So we'll have to be better in this game. We know Josh is a great competitor. He's got a great group of guys around him. He's had a lot of continuity on the offensive line this year. They've been able to stay healthy for the most part. And they got great coaches. I mean, you look at what Coach Brady's been able to do with the offense, Sean McDermott, and staff on the defensive side of the ball. And so they're a complete team. They play together. And so we'll have to play sound football, execute at a high level, and go get a dub.
You got the best quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes. You don't have to prepare up against him. There's so many great quarterbacks in this league, from Burrow to Lamar Jackson and obviously Josh. Do you feel like Josh is the toughest quarterback to prepare for?
There's many. I mean, we've played all those guys that you mentioned this year. They're all tough in their own regards. Josh and Lamar obviously bring a different element when you talk about their ability to run the football. But Josh he's impressed me so much this year. His decision making, his ability to put the ball in a bread basket down the field, deep throws, intermediate throws, short throws, his ability to extend the play with his legs. He's so hard to sack and get on the ground. And he certainly protected the football. So he's a massive challenge. I mean, he's one of those guys where you're circling him on a Monday and Tuesday saying, we got to figure out a way to stop this guy. And he's a special player. They're lucky to have him.
Drue Tranquill here with us. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. I know you're focused on winning this game and going to the Super Bowl, but this is such a legendary rivalry now. There's so many iconic moments the last 5 years or so between the Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. You've been a part of it the last 2 seasons. Do you understand it, like, in the moment? Man, like, years from now, we're going to be talking about these games. Mahomes up against Allen, the Bills up against the Chiefs. Do you appreciate in the moment what eventually the historical significance will be?
Maybe not right now. I mean, I know. So from an outside, I watched some of those playoff games. Like I remember the infamous game that changed the overtime rules in the playoffs. I remember watching that on my couch. We were out of the playoffs, and I remember watching that. We were at the pool and grilling burgers, but I remember watching that game and just being like, "This that might be single-handedly might be the greatest football game I've ever witnessed with my own 2 eyes." And to obviously be a part of that divisional round win last year in Buffalo. I'm in the cold, fans throwing the snowballs, man. I mean, there's just a lot that goes into these games. It's 2 great programs, 2 programs that are really peaking at the same time, and obviously 2 historic quarterbacks when you talk about what these 2 cats are doing. And so I'm lucky to be a part of it, and I'm excited for what's to come this Sunday evening.
That's kind of crazy, right? You're watching that 13-second game at the pool, burgers, dogs, and now you're a part of it. Like that, could you have ever imagined that in the moment that you would have been playing for Kansas City one day?
I mean, I wouldn't have imagined it just because I thought I was going to be back with the Chargers, and God had different plans. And then I come here on a 1-year deal. A lot of times guys come on 1-year deals to kind of prove it, and then they go somewhere else in free agency. And we were able to work things out and, stay a part of Chiefs Kingdom. And so, there's a lot of uncertainties. I think the odds makers would have had it a pretty low chance, but I'm here and I'm thankful, and I'm glad to be a part of this team.
Drue Tranquill here with us. All right, get into your defense. I think the world of Chris Jones. He's made so many iconic plays in these postseason games. One of the best defensive players in football. George Karlaftis keeps on getting better each and every year. We saw what he was able to do last week. Just how about the tone that those 2 guys really up front set for the rest of the Chiefs defense?
Well, it's the message that Coach Reed preaches in all these big games, but especially as you get in the playoffs. It starts with the offensive and defensive line. And if you look at all the teams in the playoffs right now, like, they've got good fronts. And those 2 guys have certainly kind of set the tone on our defensive front. But there's a ton of other guys, Tershawn Wharton, Mike Pennell, Mike Dana, Felix, Charles coming back has been huge for us in the pass rush department. Derek Nottie, who's been here a really long time and done a great job for us. There's guys kind of all up and down that front that have done well, and certainly made it easier for Leo, Nick, and I playing behind them. And so what we hope, man. I think we had 8 or 9 sacks last week, man. If we have that many sacks this week, I like our chances. They've got a really good front as well. It'll be a good battle in the trenches.
No, I'll tell you, man, the linebackers a lot more asked out of you guys this week, especially going up against the mobility of Josh Allen, the way that he runs, and you know it. Nick Bolton, he's always good in the regular season, but come postseason time, that dude's made a lot of big plays for the Kansas City Chiefs.
He has. I still think he should have had 2 touchdowns in that one Super Bowl. I don't know how they called that one an incomplete pass. I guess he wasn't making a football motion, but he's come up critical for this franchise multiple times. We're lucky to have him as our signal caller and our leader.
Let me get to Travis Kelce, right? There's so much conversation about him. And the last 2 years, people go, oh, he's past his prime. Oh, he's slowing down. He's too focused off the field with Taylor Swift. And then come postseason time, he shuts everybody up, Drue Tranquill. Do you just laugh at some of the the stupid comments that are made when it comes to Travis Kelce?
Well, who cares whether he's past his prime or not? I mean, when you could still put up 100, yards in a critical divisional matchup, I mean, I'd still say you're playing pretty good ball. And he's still one of the best in the league. What he's able to do to create space for himself, what he's able to do with the ball after the catch, and what he's able to do for us in terms of energy and leadership, you can't put a price tag on that. I think he's the longest tenured Chief, and or one of the longest tenured, maybe next to James Winchester. Him and James have been here a while, but I mean, Travis has done so much. We know what he means to this city, what he means to this team, and he does. He's one of those guys that shows up in the biggest moments.
For you, I know that you're so focused when you're on the sideline because you're getting ready to go back on the field, but you sometimes just get lost in you're in awe on what Pat and what Travis are able to do because, man, that's an elite duo, one of the greatest duos of all time that we've ever seen in the NFL.
I mean, once you make the corrections and you're kind of able to sit there on the bench and catch your breath and get ready to go back on the field, you kind of get to see some plays like last week, that diving pass to Travis in the end zone. I don't even think Travis was running the play right, according to some of the offensive guys. I think he was just kind of doing his own thing, and somehow him and Pat are always on the same page, and they're able to connect in another iconic play. You look back to Baltimore at the bank last year on that 3rd down where a similar Pat's diving and Travis somehow extends and dives and converts that 1st down for us to keep the chains moving. Whether it's the divisional round against Buffalo last year, he scores that touchdown and throws the heart up to T Swift and his brother up in the suite. I mean, there's just iconic moments with Pat and Trav and the rest of this team, and hopefully we can create some more of those on Sunday.
You look at the referees, right? That was a conversation after the Texans game. They talk openly. They thought you guys were getting the calls, and there's like a chief advantage. How do you kind of respond to that when the officials are getting associated with you guys and are be kind of using as an excuse for the rest of the teams around the league?
Yeah, I think it's a silly narrative that people just kind of start buying into and believe in. And any call that goes your way that maybe shouldn't have, now it just intensifies the narrative. I think if you look at any team when they had a historic run, the Patriots, like it was kind of the same deal, same conversation. So I hope the referees have a clean game, and I hope they call it perfectly for both sides of the ball. I think that's what we all hope for as competitors.
Do you have any idea how to hit the quarterback anymore?
You just gotta have a feel for it. I mean, once they release the ball, you got to do your best to just not smack them. Like if it's a big hit, like they're probably going to pull the yellow flag out of their pocket. It's just a different game, different day and age, and so it makes it tough on the defender for sure in some scenarios. But especially on the sideline, when you get a big guy like Josh Allen and you're trying to be physical and trying to make a tough tackle, and maybe he kind of acts like he's going to get a little extra yards and then goes out of bounds. I mean, all the great quarterbacks know how to use that to their advantage. And so we'll have to be cognizant of that. He's a tough tackle, but we'll also have to not, draw the personal foul either.
Last thing I'll ask you before we let you run, Drue Tranquill, and really appreciate the time as always getting you set for this AFC Championship game between the Bills and the Chiefs in Arrowhead coming up on Sunday. I got to ask you about your alma mater, Notre Dame, when they lost in week 2 to Northern Illinois. Hot take. I would have never thought that they would have made it to the national championship game. Got off to a great start. Then the game got away from them. They made it close at the end. But to see what Marcus Freeman and company were able to do this year, just what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, Zach, I don't know that that would have been a hot take. I felt the same way. But to see, I think the thing that impresses me most is what, Coach Freeman, you look at Al Golden, you look at Coach Denbrock, what they were able to do from a strategy standpoint and how they said, this is how we're going to play. We're going to run the ball. We're going to use Riley's legs. Riley just developed and developed as a thrower. You see him making some big throws in that playoff, but they leaned on the run game and they leaned on their defense, and the defense came up time and time again. You look at Coach Marty Biaggi and the special teams department and the number of critical plays that they had down the stretch and in the playoffs. It seems like they really used that NIU loss to develop an identity. And I think that identity carried them like throughout the playoffs. If you look at how the games went, and unfortunately the game got away from you. Look at the 18-play drive to start that game and you go, they're going to play the game they want to play. And Ohio State responded, I think, with 28 unanswered points. And so you get down 28-7 and you're not playing the game that you've played all year long to get you to that point. But you look at the resiliency, and I think it speaks to the culture and what, Coach Freeman is doing with those guys, and kind of never stopping, never backing down. And they're able to make it close there at the end. You get off the field on 3rd and 11, who knows what happens, down 8. But credit to Ohio State. I mean, they got hot at the right time. Ohio State, they were a juggernaut. We were kind of banged up, had lost 2 offensive linemen. I know they had some banged up guys too. We were, missing some of our key D tackles, but I'm proud of them, man. I'm proud to be a fighting Irishman at heart. And I hope to make it back and see some of these games.
Well, good luck, good health coming up on Sunday. We appreciate the time as always, Drue Tranquill.
We'll see you, Zach. Thanks. Go Chiefs.